In a quiet African village where the morning sun kissed the red earth, lived a humble girl named Ngozi, the orange seller. Her hands carried baskets of fruit, but her heart carried dreams far brighter than gold. From fields of dust to halls of royalty, her story would remind the world that kindness, courage, and faith can lift even the smallest light to the height of the stars. This is the Orange Cellar Girl and the Prince's Dance. At the first light of dawn, the village awoke to birdsong and gentle breeze. Ngozi walked barefoot through the red soil, balancing her basket of oranges. The golden light wrapped around her, and even the quiet earth seemed to whisper her story was about to begin. Inside their small mud brick hut, laughter filled the morning air. Her father, Obina, a humble farmer, and her mother, dressed in a colorful wrapper, shared breakfast with gentle smiles. They owned little, yet their love was abundant, the kind of love that gives strength before the day begins. Soon the market came alive. Colors, voices, and the scent of fruit filled the warm air. Ngozi arranged her oranges with care, her bright smile shining like sunlight on glass. For a moment, even the noise of the crowd softened around her. But not all hearts were kind. A few young women whispered among themselves, their eyes following Ngozi with quiet mockery. She simply lowered her gaze and continued to sell her oranges with grace and peace in her spirit. As evening fell, the sky turned to liquid gold. Ngozi sat outside their family's hut, an orange resting in her hand. She watched the sun sink beyond the fields and smiled softly, dreaming of a tomorrow brighter than this day. Then came the sound of drums. The town crier called every maiden to gather in the square. The prince of the kingdom, Prince Ikena, sought out a bride, and so the king declared there would be a dance at the palace, and from it, the prince would choose his future queen. That night, Ngozi stood beneath the moonlight beside her mother. Her mother spoke gently, "Do not fear, my child. Even the smallest star shines when the night is darkest." Ngozi nodded, holding those words like a promise in her heart. The next day, the palace came alive. Drums echoed, fabrics shimmered, and the king and queen Ada sat proudly beside their son, Prince Ikena. Each maiden danced beneath the gaze of royalty, their movements filled with pride and hope. At the palace gates, Ngozi hesitated. She could hear the music calling her, but doubt held her still. Her heart whispered, "I am only an orange seller." So she turned back toward the village, unaware that fate was still watching. By the village stream, the women chatted and smiled, their voices mingling with the sound of water. Ngozi knelt nearby, feeling her clay pot, the sunlight dancing on the ripples, her reflection glowing softly innocent and unaware. Later, the same women met Ngozi near an old wooden storehouse. Their smiles were kind, their words gentle. Ngozi followed without question, trusting, as she always did, and there, her path took a turn she did not expect. Inside the silent storehouse, dust drifted through beams of light that cut across the dark. Ngozi sat beside her basket of oranges, her hands folded in prayer. She whispered to the Creator, "If my heart is pure, let my truth be seen." Night fell and worry swept through her home. Obina and his wife searched every corner of the village, their lanterns glowing like lonely stars. They called her name again and again, but the only answer was the sound of crickets in the grass. Before sunrise, they knelt before the king and Queen Ada. Their voices trembled with grief as they told their story. The royal heart was moved, and the king raised his staff, ordering his guards to find the missing girl. At dawn, the guards set out their torches flickering against the morning light. They searched the roads and fields, their horses moving like shadows through the mist. The kingdom waited, and hope whispered through the wind. Then the storehouse door opened. Sunlight poured inside like a miracle. Ngozi blinked against the light, her eyes wet with relief. Her prayers had been answered. The guards bowed slightly, for even they could see this was no ordinary girl. When Ngozi returned to the palace, the people gathered quietly along the road. Her parents stood at the gates, tears shining on their faces. The same villagers who once mocked her now watched in awe, for humility had returned home in honor. In the great hall, Ngozi knelt before the throne. The king listened carefully. The queen watched gently, and Prince Ikena's gaze lingered not on her dress, but on the courage in her voice. The women who had led her astray lowered their heads. The king spoke softly about truth and forgiveness, and in that silence, hearts began to understand that kindness holds more power than pride ever could. The king lifted his staff toward the morning light. Let this day be remembered, he said, not for judgment, but for mercy that restores honor. And the court bowed their heads in agreement. Later, Queen Ada approached Ngozi, her crown glowing under the warm light of the palace. In her hands, she carried a gown of gold, shimmering like dawn. My daughter, she said, you are seen and you are worthy. As Ngozi touched the gown, she felt its warmth. It was more than fabric, it was a new beginning. Her reflection in the polished floor showed a woman reborn, not by wealth, but by grace. The palace courtyard filled with colors once again. Ngozi stood among the maidens, her golden gown bright as the sun. Whispers turned to admiration. Even the wind seemed to move in rhythm with her destiny. Drums echoed through the air as the royal dance began. Ngozi moved gracefully, her steps filled with peace and light. Every motion told a story of struggle, of faith, and of a heart that never gave up. When the music faded, the world seemed to hold its breath. Prince Ikena stepped forward. Their eyes met, and silence spoke louder than any word. Before the kingdom, he took her hand and the crowd erupted in joy. News of the princess' choice spread through the village. Drums sounded from hut to hut. Laughter filled the air. The orange seller's home, once quiet and humble, now glowed with light and celebration. At the palace, the king and queen honored Obina and his wife. They were clothed in fine fabric and adorned with coral beads. The king smiled and said, from humble roots grows a tree that shelters many. Tears of pride filled their eyes. Under palm arches and garlands of flowers, Ngozi and Prince Ikena were united. Their hands joined beneath the golden sky, and the kingdom rejoiced as drums carried their joy into the horizon. Weeks later, Queen Ngozi returned to her village. Children ran to greet her, laughing and cheering. She gave them baskets of fruit, the sweetest oranges they had ever tasted. She smiled, remembering where her story began. At sunset, Queen Ngozi stood on her palace balcony beside Prince Ikena and Queen Ada. The golden light touched her face as she gazed toward her old village in peace. She had walked from dust to destiny and left a trail of grace behind her. Her story became a song for every heart that dares to believe in kindness. And so her legacy lived on forever. If you enjoyed this story from Joyful African Folktale, please follow, subscribe, and share your thoughts below. Until next time, may your path be golden and your spirit forever joyful.